All right, guys, how's it going? Today you're out here with Fishing California with EBA, and today we're talking about fishing. We're gonna specifically, break down a reel today, the Abu Garcia Vengeance. It's a LP. It's a low profile reel. It weighs in at 7.58 ounces. Now I'm not holding the reel in my hands because, well, let's just say I own about a dozen of these reels. Normally I buy high end or mid-range priced fishing reels. A lot of the times higher end. I like the performance aspect of it. I like the durability, and I like just the little extra you get when you spend the extra dollar. But in general, for years I've been looking for a budget reel, something you can throw around, kick around, not worry too much about, take into any situation, not worry if it drops or gets scratched or it gets boat rash or what happens to the reel. You just don't care, because, something you can go out and have fun with, but something that still also does the job, allows you to still fish at a high level, still has, great cast control, great distance with your cast, great balance. So it might be like a little bit heavier, but as long as the reel is balanced, as long as the design is comfortable and ultimately allows you to do what you normally do. So normally, maybe you spend a couple $100 or maybe even more on a fishing reel, and you get a certain, standard, a certain quality with what you're paying, that premium you're paying. And so these Abu Garcia Vengeance LP reels, they're $19.95. Sometimes you might have to pay $24.95. I've purchased them as cheap as $17. So $17 was the cheapest one I purchased. That was the first one I got. It was just a big sale, $17. I said, let me try it. It's an incredible reel. It's phenomenal for the price. It's a bit heavy. It's on the heavy side. I really prefer my fishing reels to be 4, 5, or 6 ounces, but I'm okay with the 7-ounce reels because that's where it really all began back, when I started fishing. There was no lightweight fishing reels like they have today. Carbon fiber reels were just coming out, but even they weren't as light as what we have today. So 7.5 ounces, 7.58, 7.5. It's not that heavy, but it's got all the right features. I mean, it's simple in certain ways, but the design and the cast control, the drag, the tension knob, everything about this reel except one thing, and we'll talk about that, and this is where, the balance comes into play. So it performs really well. It's a bit on the heavier side for new generation reels, but completely comparative to old school reels in size, and as far as weight goes. But, it casts extremely well. Out of I give it a 9 or a 9 plus out of a 10 for casting, the range, different, you can go from a 1/4 ounce to a 1-ounce bait, no problem. This reel is going to be able to go anywhere, in my experience, from a 1/5 all the way to about a 1.5 is where I stopped. I think you could go up to 2, but I don't throw anything 2 ounces. So generally, I just think it's got a wide range of, it can cover your small, your medium, and your large baits. It can do it all. It's extremely cheap. But at the same time, it everything you'd want in a reel, this reel has. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks. So the price is great, right? The performance is exceptional, and it's a little on the heavier side. But let's talk about some of the things that you got to consider when you buy this reel. It's going to work for somewhere in the 2 to 5 year range. So if you're fishing if you're fishing every day and you're taking 1,000 casts every time you hit the lake, and that's the reel in your hand, it might only last 2 years. That reel, the parts in the reel, the way that some of the parts are just not made with the same components. So some of these gears are going to wear out. It's not like the reel has a warranty like an expensive reel. But some of this stuff eventually is going to wear out, and the reel's not going to perform forever like it does. So you're spending $20, $25. You're getting a performance fishing reel. It's going to do everything you need it to do. But at the same time, you don't, if you use it a lot, it might only last 2 years. I know some guys, um, like, they use it here and there. You can make it last 5 years, 7 years if it's, just one of your reels sitting in a rod locker and it gets its day and it's going to perform at a very high level for years. But eventually there's going to be a point when it's not going to perform as well. Certain parts are going to wear out. Things in that reel were not designed to be durable in, let's say, the sense of, decades and even a decade. You're going to notice a difference when you fish the reel for a few years. It's not going to feel quite like it was the day it came out of the box. Now, the only thing that really separates this reel from a high-end reel is high-end reels have warranties, so you can send them in, and anything that's worn out or anything that is not quite right, they can fix that right away. And a lot of times they charge you a small fee, or you got to pay the shipping, so you do have to pay something to get that reel fixed. And then sometimes, a lot of those parts are under warranty, so those companies might just give you a new fishing reel for free, right? So that's some of the upside to having a high-end reel. Um, you can call in and say, I need this washer, I need this, I need that, whatever. I need the gears replaced, and they'll say 40, $50, we'll replace all the gears and give you a brand new reel almost. And you can oil it and you can lube it and you can keep it 5, 10 years down the line functioning at a high level, just like it was when you took it out of the box. Whereas 5 to 10 years after you buy the Vengeance LP, Abu Garcia, you're just not going to have the same level of performance. That doesn't mean it's going to be a junker. Okay, it's not a junk reel. It's just that after that point, it's not going to perform as well. We're going to talk today about some of the other substantial differences in this reel. This is a reel where, let's say you are taking it to saltwater. Let's say you're in brackish water where you've got saltwater, freshwater, and they're both, they're mixing. This is where they're, they both making contact in these certain areas that you like to fish. If you're fishing saltwater just straight up, that's going to corrode the reel. You're going to have a lot of reel corrosion. You're going to have a lot of buildup of different, I don't know, sediments and different things that's in that water. The California Delta is not very far from where I'm at, and that's a great example. Like, you've got some salt water that goes a certain way up the Delta, and even through the Delta, it's just so nasty. The water's so nasty. There's so much pollution. There's so much in the water. It's it's really hard on your equipment. So if you're fishing a situation where maybe it's the Delta, maybe it's a private pond, maybe you're hopping a fence, I don't know, maybe you're going through a cut fence, maybe you're, whatever you're doing, there's a lot of situations where, your fishing reel, you don't want to necessarily have to worry about it. You don't want to have to go, if you're fishing these really nasty bodies of water and, you're taking it out there. You don't want to necessarily have to go home, wash your reel out, clean it out, and do all that. You can. It's going to keep it preserved longer. But my point is, when you go with one of these reels, you got 20, $25 invested. It's going to absolutely be worth every penny. It's going to last a while. It's going to perform at a high level for a long time. And, you can bring it into these situations where if it does get corroded, and if you do bring it into situations where, the reel has certain things happen to it, whatever it might be, it's not the end of the world. So I've been looking for years for a quality reel at a low price. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been watching videos on YouTube and people talk about budget reels and da-da-da-da. And it's like, listen, dude, first time I took this reel out, I went out and I busted out 17 fish on a spinnerbait. Now, doesn't seem like, oh, that's a huge deal, but in my neck of the woods, 17 fish is a big deal. 17 studs, big deal. So when we talk studs, we're talking like, just shy of 3 and up. 17 fish in that class. I did hook up into a mean mouth, half smallmouth, half largemouth bass. Definitely, a hybrid, but a mean fish, a fighter, almost 6 pounds. I got that wrapped around a log, and, just, if you're hooked into a big fish, the reel performs extremely well. If you're hooked up into smaller fish, I mean, anything's going to kind of get it done. But that was kind of like one of the things I wanted to put it to the test with was what happens when you get a big fish? What happens when that fish is pulling your rod under the boat or almost taking the rod out of your hand? You know what type fish I'm talking about, the ones that you're not quite ready. And when they go, you're like, wow, I'm barely able to hold on to this rod. There's moments. And so when this reel, it held up in that situation. I was able to get 17 out of 17 to the boat. I was able to work every lure that I was throwing, whether it be a crankbait, whether it be a spinnerbait, whether it be a jig and a pig, whether it be a jig head with a worm or anything really. Everything, jerk baits, everything has been working phenomenal on this. You know, it's been, you know, just doing the job, but getting the job done. But here's, you know, something else that's really important is the gear ratio on these reels is 6.5. Now, I don't know what you guys know about ratios, but this is a very important topic and it's a sweet spot. It's a subject where if you're in the 6.5 gear ratio range, you're able to kind of just cast out and retrieve at slow, medium, or even a high speed. And you're in that sweet spot. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you're slow rolling it, if you're medium retrieving it, or if you're burning it back on that 6 to 5, you've got a chance to hook up. You've got a chance to hook up in the summer, the spring, the fall, and even the winter. Whereas if you go a little higher or a little bit lower on those ratios, it just is not as effective. So not only is this reel, you know, worth every penny and going to, you know, of course, do its job, but hey, it's in the right gear ratio, which a lot of people don't think about. They don't really get into, but the gear ratio is everything. Everything and everything else. Like literally, water temps are important. Fish, you know, seasonally they have patterns, but gear ratio, all year long, 6.2 to 6.6, you know, but really 6.4 to 6.6, but 6.4, 6.4 to 6.6 gear ratio is the sweet spot. That is the magic spot. And the more you talk to guys that are dialed in and they're like, dude, that's what they're going to tell you. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear, you might hear some guys say, I like a little bit on the low. I like, you know, a little bit high, but we're all going to be talking sixes here. So keep that in mind, guys. Gear ratio is so important. This reel is absolutely worth every penny. Get yourself a couple. I picked up a dozen. I might have more than a dozen. I just bought a bunch because it was like, hey, at this price, put them in a box. When I need a reel, I got a reel. When I have a situation I'm going into and I don't want to bring my nice stuff, hey, I got this. When I don't really want to, you know, I can basically catfish with this same reel, you know, striper fish, bait fish with the same thing, throw out some, you know, some bait. And, I already know, like, you know, I just don't have to worry. I can go on a walk and come back and, you know, not worry. Whereas if you got your high end stuff out there, you know, you don't even want to turn around anymore, especially, you know, certain state we're in, you know, certain, you know, you just don't, yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of stress and there's pressure when you have expensive gear. If you got a GoPro behind you and you're on the bank, you're going to be looking around for that GoPro, making sure it's still there, making sure your rod's still there, making sure. Whereas this is the kind of thing where you can go out there and just fish. You could just go out there and have fun. And what happens, happens, and you're not too worried. And, you know, sometimes in my experience, you know, having too much equipment or just too much equipment that, you know, has a high tag on it, a price tag, or something that you really, you know, situationally, you should only bring in the boat or your kayak or your flow tube. You shouldn't really be walking around on the bank, you know, all the time with a high-end rod and reel. So even if you have that option, it just doesn't make sense for a few reasons. But you know, we're talking about the Abu Garcia Vengeance LP fishing reel. This reel, like I said, is 25 bucks right now. Retails for 50 regular. It's on sale. I believe it's going to continue to be on sale. Pick yourself a couple up while you still can. I know right now, the one thing I will say is don't buy from outside the United States. So when you buy one of these reels, if you have an option to get one at a great price, but it's overseas, say China, for example, don't do it. I guarantee you're going to be disappointed. But China's been doing some things that I'm not fond of recently. Got scammed out of a couple fishing reels that I bought from China. So watch out. Definitely be careful. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to be doing some more reviews on some more reels. Just wanted to share this one with you because, like I said, I could have done a video on fishing reels that were, budget reels and all this stuff that everybody, but there really was never anything there really was never any good reels. Not that I can think of in so many years. It's been 10 years that I've been looking, and the last one before this was a Pinnacle LP 100, so that was back in 2009. There was a Pinnacle LP 100 fishing reel, and it was also a 6.3 or a 6.4. It was also $20, and that was a great reel, but those reels are not around anymore. Like I said, they weren't designed to be around forever and perform at that high level. So get yourself a Vengeance, get yourself an LP, a Abu Garcia Vengeance, and you'll be happy you did. For the $20, you'll be extremely, happy with what you got. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. All right.